Hi, everyone. Welcome and thanks for joining us today. We're going to give it just one more minute to let some people join before we get started. All right. So today we're going to be discussing architecting a clean core for AI-ready HR content. I'm Andy Hubbard, and I will be your host today. As we go along, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Swati and Ison to kick us off.
Great, thanks, Andy. Hi, everyone. My name is Isan Hall, and I'll be walking us through the beginning of the presentation here. And we start with the agenda. So we're going to cover where HR is going today and kind of what we see evolving in the market from an AI perspective. And then talk about where organizations get stuck in that process and how fragmented content creates a huge issue as it relates to that process of evolving HR through digital to get to autonomous. And then what good looks like. So from an architecture perspective, as well as an operational perspective, what does that look like? And then how do we deliver a fit to standard package solution that helps you get there and evolve on that journey? And then what you gain in terms of efficiency, clean core, and AI readiness. And then we'll jump into Q&A. As Andy mentioned, if you have any questions, please post them in the chat, and we will make sure we try to address those. All right. So kind of starting off, thinking about where HR is going. There's a lot of talk about the autonomous enterprise and autonomous HR, right? So getting to the point where we not only automate tasks, but we actually orchestrate using agents to get through the daily tasks that HR professionals have to work on. So that involves agents participating, working alongside of human counterparts to solve HR challenges. Now, to get there, there are some operational challenges, and those are mostly centered around information. And you see organizations have information spread out all over the place and across different systems. And HR processes are heavily document-centric. So combining that information together in a way that it's useful is one of the large challenges. From an AI readiness perspective, bringing together that structured and unstructured data in a way that is governed and contextual is critical. Now, as we look at this, I want to kind of think about this from two different perspectives. So as we go through the presentation, we're going to talk about it from the HR leader's perspective. So that's more of those operational challenges where that manual work and access to information becomes a barrier to getting things done efficiently. And then I want to look at it from an enterprise architect perspective. And that's more around ensuring that the systems that you have in place and processes that you have in place will take you into that future. So as we talk about the autonomous enterprise, if you attended SAP Sapphire, you'll see that that's all the messaging lately. And the path to kind of getting to that autonomous enterprise is through governed contextual data. And it is around structuring a foundation on which you can not only um, find and access all the information and understand it, but that it creates a continuous capability for you to leverage that information in a way that AI can continuously use it, and that you're not having to recreate data pipelines and other things to support that environment. So here we created a friction map, and this is basically a way to illustrate how some of these problems come together and how they come together across these different roles. So if you look across the top left, where you see the manual document assembly, so on the operational side, this takes a lot of time, and we have some stats later on that we'll talk about, but this is a lot of manual effort and a lot of time to assemble documents or find documents, and then also be able to serve those documents up when needed, whether it be for something like employee self-service or audits. And then on the bottom right-hand side, you'll see heavy EIM customization. And what we see is because of the top left, a lot of times solutions are put in place, and whether they're heavily customized or they're spread across different silos, they create a challenge from an enterprise architecture perspective to get to that future state that we were talking about earlier. And both of those, if you look in the top right-hand corner, that's kind of your danger zone. So you're either dealing with disparate repositories, you're dealing with email and other things where information is spread too far across your enterprise to make use of it, and you don't have a consistent governance layer. And where we want to bring you to is that bottom left ideal state where we start to centralize information, we standardize metadata and structures so that you can leverage that information effectively. So the operational impact is significant as we talk about this. So remember, kind of talked about the two roles with the HR leader side and the enterprise architect side. And this is on the operations side, these are some of the impacts that we see when you don't have that trusted source of information and that foundation. We see teams wasting time manually searching for documents. And then also, if you think about that in context of not just the HR professionals, but the employees themselves, and trying to serve employee self-service, that becomes a huge issue. Missing or outdated documents, that leads to problems with keeping up to date with your policies and regulations, as well as any things like disputes or audits when it comes to serving that information up. So let's talk about the target state, what good looks like. From an operational perspective, building that operational foundation where documents are centralized, we talked about that a little bit earlier, in a governed platform where you don't have to worry about all the stuff that happens, I would say, below the waterline. Things like records management, audit, compliance, those things happen automatically within the system. The other thing is having something that is seamlessly integrated into the leading application that you're working with. So in this case, as we're working with SuccessFactors, you don't want to have a swivel chair where you have to find information over here and then go into SuccessFactors and copy information. You want that to be a seamless integrated solution so that everyone is working from the same place. And then the second part is more so from an architecture and future state perspective. When we talk about standards, really what we're talking about is aligning to business process standards so that we know exactly what those processes are and where those documents fit, but then that we have another layer that sits below that where we we tag each piece of data and content with standardized metadata, and that happens automatically through the system. And when we have these business entity relationships and the standardized metadata that's based on industry standards and best practices, now that starts to create a foundation for AI readiness. And that's what we mean by AI ready content. So it's not just that the content is uh, is structured in a way that it's readable by AI, but it's highly contextual in a way that AI platforms can leverage it. So we talk about building that foundation for success factors. You want to do that really across the entire value chain. So you think about everything that goes from planning and optimization all the way through transition and onboard. You want a solution that is able to solve for every step of the HR process along the way. And that's what the OpenText Content Management for SuccessFactors solution does. It provides a number of tools that allow you to manage your information throughout the life cycle of everything throughout HR and the value chain. So again, no system switching or no user experience switching where they have to go to different applications. And then you want it to be automated. So that means that as the system is working to structure this information, that it's handling all the things that it needs to do behind the scenes. It's automatically creating the workspaces based on what happens within SuccessFactors, and it's dynamically syncing that information and then applying records management and governance behind the scenes. So to kind of expand on the idea of AI-ready content and that path to modernization, um, when we talk about structured and unstructured data, that means that we're aligning our integration into SuccessFactors in a seamless way so that that information and those documents flow through SuccessFactors and they're contextualized through the SuccessFactors interface. And that starts to look like this, where we now are building that contextual information. So just by working in the system, just by leveraging SuccessFactors and the integration with OpenText, we're starting to build that contextual information in a way that we don't have to go back and revisit it or extract it because it's already being assigned to the structures where that provide the information that's needed. It also gives you a security infrastructure that allows you to secure those documents the same way that you secure access to information inside of SAP. And again, I mentioned this earlier, but the built-on standards part, you're going to see that in a little bit. That's where we align to how you're actually working within your HR process. So we want to make sure that as we define the solution, that the solution actually is not something that people have to go out and step out of the process because it wasn't aligned to how you work. We want that to be aligned to exactly how people in HR are working. Then we get to the next step with the AI-driven insights and transformation. And this is because we leverage those standards to create the data in a highly contextual way that we talked about. Now it's ready for us to leverage things like data products and knowledge graphs so that when we're working in AI platforms, that it understands the information and the large volume of information in a way that it's actually able to use it. So we're going beyond the typical, I would say, RAG-based approaches or document grounding-based approaches to something that is more enterprise-ready that you can leverage going forward. And the value of doing this is across different personas. So for the HR professional, I'd say it's twofold. One, it's about gaining efficiency in your workday and being able to reduce those tasks that you do over and over again. But it's also about being able to serve your stakeholders better, meaning the employees of the company, the leadership of the company, ensuring that all of the HR policies and procedures are followed, and that efficiency gain is extended out to the stakeholder community. From an enterprise architecture perspective, those standards, which we'll talk about a little bit more and how we achieve that, when we align to the business process or business transformation tools, that allows enterprise architecture to not have to think about this solution and how it fits in with the bigger structure and how you're going to get to that AI future. And of course, we have compliance and audit. I'd say they're normally a stakeholder of HR. We want to make sure that all the information that we have within the system, that you're not running into any policy compliance or regulation bottlenecks. So now I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Swati to do a solution demo and allow you to see the solution in action. Swati?
All right. Thanks, Aisen. So today we'll be seeing the demo of some of the OpenText functionality from an HR and employee's perspective. We'll start with HR manager, in this case, Tessa Walker, who uses OpenText and then SAP SuccessFactors to manage employees. From her homepage, she can access several integrated OpenText document management functions. Let's maybe go to recruiting module. So here she can see all the open job requisitions and finds the candidate that she plans to hire for the role they are trying to fill. Now, from recruiting model, she can go to that candidate and move that candidate to ready to hire stage within the onboarding recruitment workflow. What this does is it triggers a backend process that generates an employment contract and sends it to the new employee, in this case, Pauline. So what Pauline sees, she gets an email notification from DocuSign, just telling her that, hey, there's a new contract for her to review and sign. So once she has a chance to look at the document, she goes over to the employment contract, and then she can sign the document easily. Now, again, let's go back to HR manager, in this case, Tessa, and see how she finds the signed contract. To view the signed document, HR goes to the employee workspace, in this case, Pauline's workspace. These workspaces are built on OpenText and they're completely integrated in SuccessFactors. Here, HR can see employee details, can find all logged activities and information. She can also go to the documents view and find the newly signed employment contract in there, which is automatically added there. There is no handoff needed from person to person. HR can then review the contract, make sure the signatures is in place, and then continue the onboarding process. The workspace also shows a lot of other information that is pertinent to the HR. It can show the employee files, the missing, outdated, or in-process documents. So kind of provides a 360 view to the HR. And then from the Documents tab, you can see the folder structure that was defined to meet the company's requirements and compliance. You can filter the documents, you can search the documents. So basically, it's a very intuitive functionality for HRs. The dossier views shows all the documents, either grouped by classification or by date. Now, let's go back again to Pauline now that she is an employee and part of the organization. She also has access to OpenText functionality and can do some self-service activities like uploading, like generating the employment verification letter if for something that she needs. She can also see what documents are missing, what are out to date, and what are in process. She can also upload new documents herself without needing to contact HR. This kind of brings us to the end of our short demo, but the main part is, here HR and employee, the processes are seamlessly integrated. A lot of the function that previously needed, tickets or reaching out or other things, employees can use self-service and process that. HR's document processes also gets a little bit streamlined, and they have access to all the complete information and helps reduce the risk from an organization's perspective. So then let's go to the next slide, Ison. So this is what, based on what we saw in the demo, this is what a governed employee structure looks like. So if you see in this case, the workspace is organized to support an entire employee journey. Starting from hiring and onboarding to personal info, certification, medical records, international assignments, if applicable, benefits, training, and then finally offboarding. The lifecycle-based structure kind of ensures that the information is easy to locate. If HR is looking for, a particular certification, they can easily go to this particular folder and find it. So provides complete and auditable employee record and meets the compliance requirements. This way, disconnected HR documents can be organized in a secure, compliant way, enabling HR to do their day-to-day job easily, improves efficiency, and then reduces risk. It also kind of establishes an AI-ready foundation. So capabilities such as document summaries or knowledge assistant from HR or policies, or get automated classifications assigned, compliance monitoring, and analytics available for the organization's use. So this kind of explains what that employee structure in a governed way do to the organization. Now, I think next Ison will walk you through the architecture and the alignment section of this webinar.
Yeah. Thanks, Swati. So as we talk about the future state and kind of getting to AI readiness, one of the key concepts that's out there is the clean core, and ensuring that the systems that you build today are not heavily customized or don't bring the kind of the baggage from the legacy systems and customizations that you've had, and that you start from low or no customization, and then bring in the alignment of the future state platforms. So the key concepts there around zero custom development, and you'll see that in the solution that we're talking about. We are aligning to standards and not bringing in a lot of custom development and not bringing in any custom development to start. And then native security alignment. So the platform, as I mentioned, aligns with the security and standards from SuccessFactors and HR and policy perspective. The fit to standard alignment, you'll see that within the BTM tools that I'm about to show you within the next demo, and the standardized AI ready context. So that was what Swati just talked about in the last slide, how that structured information allows it to flow into AI. And you'll see a little bit about that in the architecture part here. So I'm going to jump into a short video here. And this video is going to show how we're leveraging the SAP Business Transformation Suite, and specifically Signavio and LeanIX, to help align the implementation and the tasks from an HR perspective and the solution that we're implementing with OpenText. So as you'll see here, we've kind of taken the standard process library and added indicators where there's opportunity to improve from an HR document management perspective. And as we go through and navigate through the processes, I'm going to pause it here for just a second. You'll see that through those indicators that you can see on the screen, we've identified the places where document management or any kind of document automation is needed and would benefit that process, right? And then this also allows you, if you are using the business transformation tools, to take your existing processes and drop them into Signavio and see where you have opportunity to improve and see where you are on kind of the best run scale. So as we go through the rest of the video, you'll see that what it's doing is it's looking at those areas where there's room for improvement. And then we're taking a look at one of the process steps. And this is where we attach documents. And as you'll see, it's going to get to a point where it's showing you the recommended capabilities to solve the problem. So you see the red indicator on that process step. This is where we can recommend what those capabilities are that you need to address that. One of those is going to be the AI-assisted documentation or generation. And here you can see with that capability, there's information that supports it around what are the actual benchmarks and metrics that make this capability worthwhile, that actually show you that if you implement this capability, you're going to save time or be more efficient or be more compliant. In addition, it's also connected to the enterprise architecture system. And this is where we start to cross over from the operations side and aligning to business processes into what the architecture team wants to be able to see to ensure that the systems that are in place to meet the business requirements also will take you into the future. So we just jumped from Signavio and in the business process into LeanIX, which is directly connected to that process step. And within LeanIX, you can see the application that starts to solve the challenge. And then you can also see the target architecture that would allow you to move forward with what we're talking about. And in this target architecture, you'll see a couple different components. You'll see that there is SuccessFactors that is fully integrated in a seamless fashion, like we talked about, where it allows the user to go into one place and have their user experience within SuccessFactors, but leverage all the capability that we're talking about from an OpenText perspective. And the next part that you see over in the green box is how we deliver that at scale and in a way that allows you to align to those standards. So we leverage Signavio and the integrated toolchain and the reference architecture from SAP to predefine what that solution should look like. And that gives you several benefits, which you can see within the green box there. But the idea there is that aligning to the process standards as well as the architecture standards is one of the things that's going to allow you to get to that future state. And then as you connect into the SAP Business AI platform or whatever your data and AI platform is, you will have that foundation that is already built, that's aligned to standards, that will allow you to move forward with your AI initiatives. All right, so let me go to the next slide here. And just to kind of talk about how we measure the value of something like this and how you start to see measurable outcomes. By using those tools, that's one part of it, and that allows us to do the definition according to fit the standard. But those benchmarks and metrics are also important. They're the things that help you understand if you're actually getting the value out of the solution that you expected. And for that, it's always good to know where you are within your current process. But to start off, you might need some outside-in perspective. And that's what using these tools allows you to do. Is it from an outside-in perspective, you can say, here are the areas that most industries or most companies are struggling with, and here's where you can improve. And some of those stats to kind of help you with that are the things that you can save time on. So here is a stat in the IDC report that talks about 2.3 hours per day is spent looking for information. That's a significant amount of time that can be brought back and used for something more productive. The HR staff spends as much as 57% of their time in administration. So again, that's more that in that friction map where it shows you kind of compiling documents, doing manual work. That's a lot of time in administrivia that could be used for more productive work. And then the 55% is around the leaders that say that they don't feel their technology stack is the technology stack to take them into the future. Again, kind of coming back to that architecture side of things and looking at how you're going to get to that future state. You building a platform like we just talked about and then architecting it in a way that we just talked about will support that. So when we talk about this architecture and it being fully integrated, this is just a view of how OpenText integrates within SuccessFactors so that you can see that it is fully integrated, it is seamless, it is event-driven. There is really, once we have this connected, there's nothing else that you have to do that is manual because the integration is so deeply integrated and tightly coupled with the leading application. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Swati and talk a little bit about how we deliver all the things that we just talked about in a package solution.
Okay, thanks, Tyson. So this kind of brings us back to this new implementation standard, which was designed with a really simple goal for customers to accelerate time to value while reducing project risk, cost, and complexity. So over the years, we have worked with many organizations on multiple OpenText implementations across different industries. One thing that we all have consistently noticed that while everyone had a unique problem and unique need, they were trying to solve the same core business challenges. And yet every project kind of started from the ground up. So as we collectively reflected on what went well across these projects, we did see an opportunity to take the best ideas, lessons learned, proven practices, and then package them into a repeatable solution approach. So rather than reinventing the wheel every single time on every project, we kind of leveraged from the successful implementations of different projects to create the standardized fit for purpose solution that delivers the same things the customer are expecting, but faster and with more predictable results. So they can also plan accordingly from their business processes side. That's how the Qellus package solution was created. It is built on our real life project experiences and designed to help customers get up and running faster, providing them greater flexibility to meet the business need and also minimizing implementation effort along the way. So you see on the slide, there is two sections, custom build and Qellus package solution. So in the custom build, in the traditional way, solutions do tend to become highly customized and over-engineered, often extending the project timelines from months to years. We all have seen that. And then scope also keeps on increasing. Scope creep is that's something that all of us have experienced at different levels. And then dependency on the customer resources is definitely a key point where, people are busy with their day-to-day jobs and trying to meet the project requirements. Over time, this creates a technical debt, which makes upgrades and any future enhancements or implementations more difficult and expensive. So the Qellus package solution kind of takes a different approach. It uses the proven best practices and fit to standard architecture. It is built upon pre-configured and tested business processes, and designed to align with industry standards rather than reinventing them. It also enables deployment in approximately 11 weeks, which significantly accelerates business value. So customers can see how the solution looks like, can get their hands on the solution way earlier, and kind of see instead of waiting for years for the projects to go live. The fixed price and fixed scope provides greater budget and delivery predictability from a planning perspective. And another key point, which is, it only takes up to 20% of the internal effort from a customer side, from a resources perspective. So from a custom to a package solution. So since it includes predefined templates and config, it does help reduce implementation burden and reduces the overall project risk. So that kind of differentiates between, what the package solution have separately that the custom build doesn't cover. Let's go to the next slide, Aisen. So what does it include? On a very high level, it still includes the employee processes from recruiting, onboarding 2.0 to employee central integration from SuccessFactors. So the entire employee lifecycle is covered. It covers around 50,000 employees, active and active including. It also covers 20 native CMIS document types. When I say native CMIS, those are the document types that are generated within SuccessFactors from one of the SuccessFactors modules or processes or workflows. It also includes 100 non-CMIS document types, which the HR may deem necessary as the employee lifecycle grows. We include all the documents that we had seen over and time again, different businesses use. It includes up to 5 SuccessFactors tiles and widget to be available for HRs and employees and managers. It includes the out-of-the-box deletion and HR approval workflows. And then along with all of this, it includes the standard project management phases like UAT support, go live, and hypercare support. So that's what the package consists of. And then if you go to the next slide, you can see how the timelines and milestones lay off against this package solution, right? Here you can clearly see that by week 4, you are able to see the solution in your environment and start playing around or do the UAT or start testing. So this kind of gives a great advantage to customers, because at this stage with a custom build implementation, you are still in requirements phase and trying to get this stuff aligned. So by week 11, you are already in production and starting to use the system, where you can then, start thinking about next important things for the HR. So a lot of time, SAP usually says, AI agents will run the HR department, and then, this is document management. But what we are trying to say is, AI in HR does depend heavily on the unstructured content, but that content still needs to be structured, aligned, and governed. So this kind of provides you the foundation and the architecture to get the AI ready for future. So Aisen will take the next slide to close this.
Great, thanks, Swati. So just to kind of bring us back to this slide, as we start to close out the presentation part, is kind of talking about that path to AI-ready content and that path to modernization, where hopefully you've seen and we've demonstrated how we bring together structured and unstructured data in a way that supports operations and reduces friction on the operations side for HR to operate more efficiently, as well as the next part where we get into the contextual information and you see that we've architected the solution in a way that reduces friction for the enterprise architects and allows them to understand how this solution is deployed in line with the other initiatives that are going on, as well as how it supports that future state of the information, with it being structured, aligned to the processes, so that it can drive your AI future. And with that, just a quick summary here to kind of recap some of the things that we talked about and kind of close this out. So seamless content, and that is really the part that starts to drive automation and helps your operations team work more efficiently, but then also remain within the regulations and rules and policies that are needed to serve HR. The package delivery, as Swati talked about, really solves time to value. So if you think about how custom projects and the amount of effort that it takes for consulting organizations to come in and then ask for all your requirements, when most companies do a lot of the same thing as a foundation. We want to improve that time to value by delivering that part up front and then working on the parts that you may need to tailor to your organization following that. And then the standardized AI foundation solves the AI readiness. And you saw that through the architecture and then the structure of how the solution is deployed. So with that, I'm going to turn it over for Q&A and give it back to Andy.
Thank you so much, Ison and Swati. We do have a couple questions in the chat. Let me go ahead and pull them up. The first question that we have is, realistically, what changes day to day for my HR team once this is in place?
And Swati, do you want me to start or you?
Yes, I can start and then I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about efficiency and seamlessly integrated. So, that's one part of it. But when you start thinking about things like automation through document generation and the ability to automatically have compliance applied as you're using the system, the biggest thing that changes for them is they're going to get more time back in their day and be able to focus on the things that matter. So the other thing that it does do is start to ease your mind about that future state. So while you may not be ready for AI and agents and all of that, as you start thinking about how you're going to get there, it starts to reduce that burden of that on the future state as well. Swati, is there anything you'd want to add to that?
Yes, I wanted to mention that the ease of finding information is key to HR, because now they can trust the system, that nothing is getting lost in communication or PTOs, and they all the content is available for all of them to look at this and then resolve the tickets seamlessly and quickly.
Awesome. Thank you both. The next question that we have is, once our documents are connected to SuccessFactors, what's left to solve?
Swati, you want to take it or you want me to go?
We can go into AI analytics, reporting, all of those. So having all the documents in one place is solving the big problem, getting AI ready for future changes or implementations or upgrades. Everything kind of comes together then.
Yeah, and that's where I think, because it's you kind of get into maybe a SharePoint versus a more structured system conversation when you start to think about that. Because sure, you could create SharePoint links and URLs out to other applications, but that only solves one part of the problem. Even if you could make that seamless document repository, it's not going to allow that information to be structured in a way that it is usable for all those automated processes that you need, whether it be records management, compliance, or taking you into that future state with AI. So the things that are left are really aligning it to those business process standards and aligning it with those business process systems and the architecture systems to ensure that it's able to carry you into the future.
Thank you. Two more questions left. The next question is, how do we add this much content capability without piling up technical debt that fights our S/4HANA upgrades?
Yeah, that's another
That's the
good one
package
too.
solution. Yeah, but that's the package solution kind of solves that problem for them. Have everything ready in a non-customized way, and then helps the S4 upgrades go smooth.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd add is, having having everything built out in the AI-enabled tool chain. SAP has changed the name of it recently, but the Business Transformation Suite. Likely as you're going through an S4 transformation, you're using some level of business transformation tools, whether they come from SAP or elsewhere. And having a structured approach to how the solution is deployed, and then being able to see how that aligns with your other efforts that you have going on in transformation is key. So, both our packaging and our alignment with the business transformation tools help support that.
Great, thank you. Last question. I have other systems that I'm using. How do I bring those systems into the mix?
So it's probably a perfect question for you.
Well, I think once you have a foundation ready or a solution ready, you can try and get the systems to use a path to get them on OpenText too, because I think the main problem, everybody has a different solution in mind, and if there is no foundation in place or no standardized enterprise-wide solution in place or directive in place, I feel that becomes a little challenging working with different groups and different systems. We can also feed those contents generating from other system, either from a short-term perspective, from ongoing perspective, or from a decommissioning perspective into OpenText, and still give access to all those other groups, kind of keeping their peace of mind that, hey, this content is not lost. They can still access it and link it to the existing one. So they're not looking in 5 different places to see something.
Yeah, and I guess I would add, as you think about whether you're going through an S4 transformation or any kind of business transformation, when you're bringing in new applications that are to take you into the future, and you understand how data and how important data is from a future perspective, you want a platform that allows you to connect that information to all those platforms in a way that is seamless and structured and aligned to your business processes, regardless of what system they happen in, so that that information can then serve you from an operations perspective, but also take you into the future for AI. And the OpenText content management platform is that platform. It allows you to connect to SAP, Salesforce, ServiceNow, any number of leading applications, so that you can have this seamless content connection and seamless user experience throughout all those applications to take you into the future.
Okay, great. At this time, there's no other questions. So I'm going to go ahead and end it, but I do want to thank everyone today for joining us, for taking the time and for participating. My information is on the screen in front of you if you feel like reaching out. We hope you found today's session valuable. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are